Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Seaforth Beach. The sun is just going down over there behind my head, and the moon is in the sky somewhere. I can't see it, but up behind me there, I don't know if you can see it on there. Anyway, it's really chilly and very beautiful, bracing. So I wanted to do a little talk about cause and effect, which is the way things operate in the world. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and in the idea of it being an opposite reaction, it's not always opposite. Sometimes it's exactly the same, but it's a reaction that will come back to you. And if you want to call that karma, you can. What you put out, you get back. As you do unto others, so let it be done unto you. All of that sort of thing, which is the golden rule. So cause and effect. My thinking makes my reality. If my thinking is dark and miserable, then all that I will perceive out there is an excuse to maintain the nature of my thinking. Because thinking has to be justified. I cannot have a thought that does not have a meaning. Right? I justify every thought I have with a meaning, and I'm constantly looking for a witness to it to verify the nature of my identity as I think I am, as let's say Dave, this body, which I know I'm not, because I've had an experience of the illumination of my mind that's shown me that I'm spirit. And but anyway, in the process of healing, what we call healing or spiritual transformation, spiritual awakening, we get the results of our own thinking, which is how we learn. So learning the nature of cause and effect, what you put out you get back, is very, very helpful, because you can easily make little experiments with that which will prove to you very simply that you get the results of your own thinking, and that your mind is powerful in a very singular way, right? Wherein you can see the responsibility you have for your footprint in the world, let's say, or for the effect of your conscious expression. So if you have not yet chosen peace as your goal, then which is a spiritual goal, a spiritual determination, and if you haven't yet picked up on it, there are only two ways to see the world, the universe, and everything. One's through the eyes of fear, and one's through the eyes of love. Right? The running program for the human being, the one that you'll enter into this experience with, is a fearful one. It's born of separation, and it contains nothing but potential to be the witness to the ideas or the experiences of what separation could be as a possibility in your own mind. And you'll notice that you have this kind of legacy of hopelessness, I guess, that occurs, wherein you'll find yourself saying things like, oh, same shit, different day, why does this keep happening to me? And there's this whole victimhood and all this sort of thing, and you'll probably turn to drugs and alcohol to help you cope with a horrific, pointless, meaningless, day in, day out kind of life, which is what I had for the first half of my life, with jobs, relationships and everything. It just didn't make sense to grow old and die with a cold watch after flogging my guts out to pay taxes, etc. I knew there had to be more, something else to the experience that I was having that was unknown to me at that time. But anyway, and then of course you get to a point, however it occurs to you in your own individual journey, where you suddenly sort of pull up in your tracks, or you hit a brick wall, or have a midlife crisis or something, where you sort of say to yourself, there has to be a better way. And you begin to choose for yourself, right? You begin to choose for your own best interests. realising, of course, that I don't know what my own best interests are, but love and peace and happiness would have to be included in there if I want to have an experience opposite or different to the one that I'm having that I really don't enjoy now because I don't have any love and peace and happiness in my life, etc. So you begin a kind of a spiritual, and I'm not talking Buddhist or Christian or Hindu, whatever. Spiritual is the mind, spirit, which is the Latin word for the mind, translated from the Greek psyche, to think and to remember. But so you choose for that, and then in that choosing, right, I choose for peace in my life. I want a peaceful life. I don't care about all the glitz and the glamour anymore, or the possessions and all of that bloody stuff that we're taught we have to chase after to verify who we are, and look what I've got, and you don't have this, I'm better than you, and all that crap. Who dies with the most toys wins. But we begin to realise that what we have, what is given us, and what comes to us by way of our skills or our talents or whatever you want to call it like that, we put them to use for the greater good. And there's a kind of a moment where you realise that you wouldn't want anything in this world if it couldn't be shared with others. You know, you wouldn't want anything in the world that's not helpful across the board. So, because it's unloving to be selfish, right? But when you're selfless, giving your love away, giving your perhaps possessions, I don't know, a lot of people that enter into very monastic kind of lifestyles generally have this divesting period where they give away a lot of their, I mean, I did it when I was 33, house, job, dog, everything, gave it all away and entered into 6 years of study and meditation, but and prayer, to learn that I get the results of my own thinking, that whether I like it or not, I am subject to a divine perplexion, which is that I get the results of my thinking, that cause and effect are never separate. What I think in here becomes manifest out in the world, and I walk around bumping into it as if by accident, but there are no accidents. My thinking put it there. You know, I walk around and bump into stuff and go, what the hell? Why the bloody hell is this happening? And so that I can learn the power of my mind, right? So that I can learn that cause and effect are not separate, and that I'm responsible for my thinking. And it's quite a common thing to have those little moments throughout the day where you'll say to yourself sort of things like, oh, I was just thinking about that, isn't that weird? You know, or I was just thinking of somebody and then they rang on the phone. And, you know, these funny little things. It's like, well, it's not really funny. You know, your mind makes it happen. And I'm still working out how my mind can make happen to win the lottery, but... Oh no, I can hear all the spiritual people back there going, you've already won it, man, you've got everything, just tell yourself, you know, blah, blah, blah. All of that power of positive thinking nonsense. If you're meant to, you will. If you're not meant to, you won't. That's the bottom line. So whatever your part in the plan is, whatever your part in the divine will is, it will be. And you can't change it even if you wanted to, because there is no real such thing as free will. It's like there's a script you wrote before your adventure here, and you forget that you wrote it. And so when you walk around in the world and bump into things, it's like, this seems very familiar to me. It's like, I'm sure I've been here before. It's like, you know, it's like awakening is this kind of thing for dummies. There should be a book, you know, like Experiences Explained for Dummies. It's like, you wrote the script. It's like, but the script was a terrible one. It had a really bad ending, and you know, we had to get this guy called Jesus, who was a much better script writer, to come in, and somewhere in the 260 billion year lifespan that you were going to have incarnating again and again and again, he popped in and he left this kind of idea of forgiveness for you to stumble across as if you didn't know it was going to be there. Oh, look at that. That's amazing. You wrote him into the script as well. So it's just funny, isn't it? So, but you get the results of your own thinking. So watch your thinking, right? One of the things that's really helpful, if you're doing Course in Miracles, you'll be doing the workbook lessons and everything like that. But you'll notice, if you're doing lesson 10, for example, which is one of my personal favorites, you'll notice that you look at your thoughts. This thought does not mean anything, blah, blah, blah. The next thought does not mean anything, next thing. And you'll see the kinds of thoughts that are going on in there in that minute or two of mind searching. And then just because you've done the lesson doesn't mean that you just get up and go about your day and forget about the lesson. I mean, you try to carry it with you throughout the day. So there's this kind of period where I want to be aware of my thoughts, what I'm thinking in here, even if they're ugly and horrible, which they probably will be if you're being honest. I want to be aware of my thoughts so that I can see where it is in my relationships that they show up symbolically as the effect of my thinking, so I can apply the particulars of forgiveness to my thinking in that relationship, and so break the chain of that same shit different day cycle that continues on and on and on. And then something else can happen, something not of my own making. But I think that's about all I have to say, really. Just a funny little one. But I just wanted to put that out there about cause and effect relationships, because that's the whole thing, you know. It's like I get the results of my own thinking. Say that to yourself 100 times, right? And it's like it helps you to be able to take responsibility for things, no matter how ugly or horrible they might seem, when you realize that. And there's no guilt implied in taking responsibility for the horrors of your world, but there is a responsibility to do that, because it is the only way that you can free your mind from the triggers and the blocks that perpetuate that showing up in your world again and again and again. Right, so when you no longer pick up the rope to play with the dog will go and find someone else. You know, I'm talking about the black dog, of course, depression, anxiety, all of that sort of thing. And it's like it only has power over you because you give it power over you. You insist on looking at those thoughts, entertaining them, and not doing anything about that. I'm a victim. Because you love to be the victim. You love to have the drama, right? It was the same for me. I'm not special. I'm not different from you. It was the same for me. I had the dramas and everything going on, and I thought that's you know, the way life was, until I discovered that it wasn't, that there was a better way. So anyway, love you, take it easy, and see you in the next one.